Hey, what's up? My name is Matt Workman, and welcome to This Week in Unreal. We're going to start off talking about some Epic Games Unreal Engine news, move on to some other community and memes, and then get to the meat of the discussion for this week. The internet has delivered the Studio Ghibli ChatGPT thing that happened. Lots of takes on it, and eventually by the end, possibly my take after I read everyone else's, and ending again with some hopefully kind of positive, uplifting stuff, but this time maybe it might be a little bit of mixed bag. Okay, to start us off, JS Films is living a little bit in the future. I only download the binaries off of the launcher. I don't go on the GitHub versions, but JS has been messing around in 5.6, and I guess there's some new lens distortion stuff. We have anamorphic already, but now we have I never know how to pronounce this, the Petsful distortion that happens with like certain like older lenses. It has a cool effect, and this metahuman has purple eyes, so this is like everything I like to see all in one place. I think I covered this last time, but Fab has continued to be updated, so there's a bunch of new stuff happening here that you can read about. And I caught this mostly because, Faucher posted about his products. I'm also a Fab seller, so I should probably go look at this. I've just been kind of busy on some other stuff lately. But I guess we have one of the new things is that instead of having like comments directly on it, those are now forum threads, which is kind of clever. And I think they've even imported, based on what Inu Games said, they've imported some of the older comments from before are now being added as threads as well. So I haven't seen how clunky or smooth or good that looks yet, but cool to see that Fab is evolving, and that, as a Fab seller, just to see other Fab sellers take on it, and it's important to me, and anyone that uses Unreal Engine certainly is very likely using Fab. So it's all good to see the evolution of that. Immature Games, I think, took a break and then now is back. We met at Unreal Fest in Seattle. So good to see back on the old content train here. He says the UEFN is 2 years old today. That makes me feel really old. I feel like that just happened. So congrats to UEFN and that community. They are very vocal on Twitter. We love it. Dom, who I know from the alpha or beta of UEFN, we've met multiple times as well. What's up? I know he's complaining about a bug because UEFN is just moving at 1,000,000 miles per hour. They're building the train tracks while driving the train, and it's, there's going to be fallout in that kind of an ecosystem. But what I'm impressed with is that they made this UI at all. And I haven't gotten back into Verse and Verse UI and UEFN for a little while, but the fact that you can do this in UEFN is incredible, because what's being shown here most likely is that the UI is being controlled by a controller, not a mouse and keyboard. Mouse and keyboard UIs, pretty easy. Controller UIs, not easy. An Unreal Engine that usually requires now common UI or a custom framework like I've built in the past that are not robust, they don't scale very well. It's fairly complicated to build UIs like this for mouse and keyboard and controller support, and it switches back and forth and it works, and it's like easy to change. Like, let's change the order of those of some of those buttons on the side and switch some stuff there and have that not break everything. That's hard to do. So even though I think this is a complaint that something broke in the last build of UEFN for this kind of pretty complicated UI, it is cool at all that UEFN has basically common UI built in and that people can do it at all. So I'm just happy with that. I know I'm not the one struggling shipping games with it, but I still think it's cool that the Verse UI has come along this far. Moving on to our Tim Sweeny quotes of the week. This one went out there. He said, "I drink Diet Coke at room temperature uncarbonated," which, how do you uncarbonate Diet Coke? I guess you just kind of put it in a pitcher in the bottle and you just leave the cap off until it becomes room temperature and all the carbonation leaves. Do we have lots of these lined up? Anyway, it's kind of a joke. It's a meme, and people have been, I should make a Ghibli version of it, a visualization of it. Anyway, people have been riffing off of this, and I thought that was funny for the week. And Grace, who formerly worked at Epic on the UEFN side, she is known for giving out bracelets to a lot of people, and she gave one to Tim Sweeny, and he said thanks, and I thought that was a cute interaction on Twitter. So all very nice things so far. There's not much to say about this, but this is certainly hashtag retargeting. If you've done any retargeting with metahumans or characters, and you start to realize that this character animation thing, there's a little bit to it. Oh, tech art for characters. This is not the most straightforward thing in the world. We have to be careful. So we're looking at here, the hips are clearly offset 90 degrees, and what would be for a UEF or a UE5 character would be like on the y-axis is flipped around a little bit there, and the neck's a little bit broken. And anyway, this is a common sight, and it's always terrifying to see like humanoid figures morphed like this, but not if you're a Unreal Engine character retargeting enjoyer. This is just like another day at the office. Moving on to transitioning to the next topic, kind of. Someone is building MCP, which I asked them what that stands for, and I forget. I think they retweeted it for me, or they responded. Anyway, they're building MCP just like Justin built for Unity. Someone's starting to build that for Unreal Engine, and I don't really know what that means. There's like a Claude client over here, and you're typing to it, and everything you do gets fed back to it? I don't know. They said, here it is. Yeah, they wrote back, Model Context Protocol. So I'm old. I'm slow. I don't really know what this means. Someone from Epic actually responded back, and they were like, "You should try it. It's actually pretty good." So not an endorsement at all by Epic Games, but some people that I know that work there are like, "Yeah, we use stuff like this." I was like, "Oh, no." Again, not officially, not like to make the engine, but I think more like casually as like a techie, tech enjoyer, curious tech person. They've been using it, and they were like, "Oh, you should check it out." Not endorsed by Epic in any way. And to wrap up our kind of like Unreal Engine like highlights and news specifically, Industria 2, I've talked about this project in the past, and it just makes me feel so bad as a game developer. So they have a kind of like a physical inventory. I think a lot of us have had that thought, but not everyone's implemented it this nicely with this kind of lighting. So I guess maybe you pause the game, or the game's still running, and you drop this like table and pick up the gun. Anyway, it looks incredible. Somewhat impractical looking at the moment. It's just a tech demo because that robot's coming for you. But anyway, Industria 2, easily one of the coolest looking Unreal Engine 5 indie games coming out. Okay, so now we're moving on to more kind of like just generic community and memes. This one's making the rounds. Hilarious. I forget what this is originally from, but this template is, it's like, listen, kid, I don't have much time. The correct way to UV a sphere is, do we read memes on this format? I guess that's what we're doing. Anyway, pretty funny. I actually don't, I guess I don't care that much about UVing spheres. I actually forget how I UV spheres. I feel like I cut it in half in the middle and make two. I guess it depends what you're going for. So there's some thought about this, and there is no right way. But anyway, I think Pilgrim makes, lots of weapons for sure for Rust, Face Punch Studios and whatnot. So it's a good one. It's a quality one. Not that it kind of went over my head. I was like, I don't really think about this that much. But anyway, this was a very popular tweet this week. Next, we're doing cat memes. We're not above cat memes. Trying to read the code you wrote yesterday. This is real. And I think there's an increasing pain as it's like, I have a project that I haven't opened up it's coming up on a year. It feels pretty bad to say that. But I can just imagine me opening that project right now and just having, it's going to take me a couple days to remember what the framework is I wrote and the patterns. And I'm like, who wrote this? Like, what was the idea? So this hits for me. Here, in a language I can't read, I could translate it here. And I think they wrote back as well. It's just this cool extruding technique in Maya. And I recently started to use a lot for clothing, especially for verts. It's all muscle memory. It's like control middle. You select verts, and I think it's control middle mouse drag is like extrude along. It's not really extrude, it's like move along normals. And this is like sort of an equivalent for using set to edge. So these are things that happen when you're like box modeling and you're like, now it's time to make the corners smooth, or like trying to make the clothing a little bit bigger. Like these are things that like if you did by hand just don't really work. You really need to have these concepts in mind and know where to find the tools. I'm a Maya user. I'm sure more people use Blender, but anyway, I see a Maya tip and I jump on it because I need help. Another meme, though, this is for me completely about Unreal Engine. It says changing IDE settings for fun. Now your code is being executed by VLC Media Player. And so this is like one of the main, anyone who's gotten into programming the first time, maybe it's easier these days. It's why I like in UEFN that like Visual Code Code Studio, is that what it's called? I forget. Is like kind of built in almost as like it comes in like the executable. Is that the hardest part is getting the IDE set up. So it's like when I first started learning HTML, JavaScript, PHP, MySQL, Python, and trying to get them all to run locally on my Apache server on my computer. And then I'm like, now I have to get it to work on some web server. Just getting the thing so I can type it in to see if it hello worlds is so much work. And when you do it wrong, it's like, I'm not smart enough to fix this. That's how I feel about Unreal Engine and Visual Studio when I'm doing C++ stuff. Like, I've done it. I have shipped Unreal Engine projects that have a C++ framework, and I've gone in there and I've added classes and I've done things and I had to upgrade to shared pointers. But it still terrifies me that, like, if anything starts to go wrong, I just feel so bad about it. There's good documentation I shouldn't scare people away from just because I'm afraid and can't learn anything else new. Don't be afraid of C++, but I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of this whole thing. I hate when, like, I get Visual Studio errors and it's like something about, and now we can't make my Unreal Engine game sad. Do blueprints, you don't have to deal with this anymore. That's my takeaway. I was just going to retweet this and say mocap. That's something I do anytime I see a mocap on Twitter. I'm like, I just retweet it and I just say mocap here. But there's even more to this story. So Datto, who I believe, if I'm getting this right, is a very large Destiny content creator who I followed for a little while. Big proud of my wife. I know how hard she's been training, working, networking, traveling, and more to forge this new path of hers. Here's to the next opportunity. So this is apparently, I saw her tweet first, and I was going to retweet it, and I was just like, mocap is cool. They're doing mocap for Destiny. That is super awesome. But then it turns out this is the wife of a really big Destiny creator, so that's cool as well, making this not only like mocap retweetable, but just like, I don't know, kind of interesting overall. So Destiny runs in the family over there at Datos. And so I think this looks like a Unity game. Is this Unity? Is Unreal Engine? It doesn't really matter, right? At this point, I've seen this game everywhere, and there's something. Maybe this is like kind of entertainment in general, right? But there was something that I was looking at this post. I was like, okay. So after 8,000 applications, 4,000 voice actor submissions, 4 months of reviewing audio, we have finally narrowed it down to 50 voice actors. That's a ton for callbacks. So make sure to check your email spam to see if you got a callback. 8,000 people applied to this and they reviewed it. 4,000 of them to get down to 50 for how many voice actor roles? This is an indie. I mean, that's why you have casting directors to do this for you. But like, that is so many voice actors for how many roles? And that's what you're up against as a voice actor. And the voice actors in video games right now, I think, are pretty hard. I don't know the actual. This is just my feeling from what I saw recently. Losing the AI battle to have companies, like, they don't want companies to train voice AIs based on their voice, because then once they do that, they don't have to hire them anymore. They just have to come back and train them every once in a while. They're not winning that fight. And I don't think they're going to win that fight, because any company that can not need to keep hiring voice actors over and over again as their voices changes, or like they don't want to do it, or like they make a bad tweet or something and ends their career. I mean, like, it's a tough one. That is a tough one as game sales are declining and they need to like kind of save money. I do think that is one of the more challenging ones, though. I'm certainly rooting for the voice actors. I don't know if friends are the word peers, and I know multiple like decent sized ones who do like big character names and stuff like that, character voices. Anyway, this one gave me pause in the context certainly of AI and how AI is going to be affecting voice actors in the future. So this is starting a little bit of a virtual production segment here, and I haven't watched this video, though I do watch her videos every once in a while that are on architecture. I didn't realize her name was Dami, and it's just showing some green screen virtual production stuff that's been happening for her shows. It's pretty intricate. I don't know what that tracking mark was on a green screen person, and I believe they show that a lot of this is being just rendered in Unreal Engine. There it is, boom. They even squished the editor into a vertical TikTok format, which looks absolutely terrifying. But cool to see this much work going into like a YouTube format, and that Unreal Engine really is like not just a game engine. This is probably obvious. It's like half the people watching this probably use it for just like, movie render queue. But anyway, it is also just like an incredible, free, accessible 3D renderer, and people are doing great stuff with it. This one, you'd have to go look up her channel on YouTube. But anyway, just cool to see something kind of like in the YouTube space at this quality being done with Unreal Engine. This is pretty cool. There's actually a lot happening at NAB. This isn't quite the show for it. Maybe it is if it's virtual production related. But anyway, I thought this is a cool evolution that there's like a credit card size Rialto Mini now. So the Venice is like chilling somewhere humongous and like whatever, like a cinema camera. But now it's even smaller. So that is pretty cool. I didn't see that coming. Even has like built-in little ND filters and like, yeah, that's some cool tech. I like this a lot. Valentina V, cinematographer who I've known for a while, is the only person I know that can make cinematography tweets blow up like this. And she's had ones that go even bigger. And she's kind of just talking about how bad the cinematography, quote unquote, of this like impromptu interview is. And then the producer or videographer writes back about it. And I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to see that she's able to put this together and people on the internet respond to it. But some IRL filming things, not AI yet, happening right here. And I just always think it's interesting she can make these tweets happen. Next, before we move on to the doom and gloom segments here, just a lovely photo. Is it AI? I don't think so. Of Zendaya, lowercase z. Put some respect on it. How dare you? Greg Fraser, I imagine, holding a big old Alexa 65. And they were like, look at the clouds. They're going crazy in the background. Zendaya, run up there. We're getting this shot. The happy accident of filming in real life. AI could never. AI certainly could. Like they'd be like, just make that Zendaya shot happen and put me in there instead. I mean, that's the future. But anyway, someone has to train the AI, and who better than Greg Fraser and Zendaya to train it for us to be able to make these epic shots. But anyway, look what happens when you go outside and touch grass or sand. And as we transition fully into our doom and gloom segment, we look at something that is certainly likely Unreal Engine in the background on the LED volume. I've had my fair share of time on things like projects like that. We've got a Kira robot happening. And then we have Atlas, the robot, operating a handheld gimbal. And it's certainly a tech demo that is cool, provocative. If I got called to do this project, I would have been there in a second. I was like, that sounds crazy. You guys are crazy. Let's go do it. And I never thought I'd see the day. I feel like I tweeted that like everything does a backflip with the gimbal. I was like, everything has been pointing to this moment that like, not only do we not need real life filmmakers to film this, but even if we do it, you know it's a robot. You know that robot's going to be doing it. And automation in like, live production, this has been happening forever. Like so many productions are just like robotic arms. They're just like PTZ, pan, tilt, zoom cameras. And, smart studios where like you don't hang the lights all the time. Everything's on a board. We've been moving in that direction for forever. It already exists. It's been happening. And, to make things faster, think about like live produced news and stuff like that. It can't be like changing the light setups every time. It's like, it's all kind of set up. And, robots, they don't get tired. They don't take lunch. So again, this is the world we're moving towards, but it's been like this forever. I have done many shoots where we just use a robot camera that I program, and I just sit there and I'm just like, good job, robot. And I don't do anything with the camera. But anyway, this is certainly technology and where we're headed. Okay, let's move on to the main segment here about ChatGPT and the Studio Ghibli incident, we'll call perhaps. Maybe this video is going to get DCMA'd because I'm even showing this footage, but so be it. That's the price of the cutting edge. I mean, if I'm going to get a DCMA, what is the rest of the internet going to get from all of this? So, in case you've been living under a rock, which I heavily suggest if you want to keep your mental sanity these days, live under a rock. Don't watch this stuff. You'll feel better. Trust, for sure. Anyway, ChatGPT releases 4.0. I forget how they name it. I've never used it, to be honest, for image gen. They released some new model that can do some, I would say, pretty incredible video to stylization. And I know there's probably a proper name for it, but that's what I'm calling it. So you feed it in video and you're like, make it this style, make it like look like Minecraft and make it look like voxels. And the examples are kind of incredible and mind-blowing. And So this is someone went and made this, and again, I think it's just trained from footage from Lord of the Rings, and they just cut it together. And what I want to say out of the gate before we like address like the artists and the legal and the money and other implications is that they even use Hayao Miyazaki's name in it. Blasphemy. What I want to say is that this is the first series of content that I've seen from any image gen where I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. Like I would probably watch this. Like that looks pretty decent, and the characters for the most part look like watchable and like kind of compelling looking. All of the image gen stuff that I've seen, or most of what I've seen, especially if it's ever moving, from Midjourney and just other image gen AI models or whatever, they've all been a little bit like there's like this level of acceptability, and they're just like a little bit below that or a lot below it, or they're like so uncanny and unwatchable, stylized or realistic. They're just kind of like bad. I've just been like, oh, it's close. I kind of see the vision, but like, not really. But this one, these Studio Ghibli ones, I was like, oh, those look really good. Like, not like I could see how like there's definitely like 20% better by like the actual studio or more than that. Maybe that's an insult to say that. I know that I can look at them like, oh, it's not quite as good as theirs, but like it's pretty good. I think, especially the stills. So from just purely looking at it visually, I was like, oh, this is pretty acceptable. And so that's the first point. This is the first wave of these, image gen AI projects that I've seen, or whatever you want to call this, where I'm like, there's like the acceptable bar, and I was like, this is right at it for me. Now, this might be because, like many people, I like how Studio Ghibli stuff looks. A lot of game developers do. There's a lot of games that are inspired by this look. It's an aesthetic that nerds like, let's be real. It's like, whoa, everything's so cute and clean and such bright colors. The color palette choice is so nice, and the lighting. So a lot of this is just that, like, probably from my preconceived, notions about this work, Studio Ghibli's work in the past, when I see something that's this close to it, even if it's not as good, I'm just like, oh, it's the vibes. So I think that's probably part of it. But there's no question to me that like whatever transforms happening here, they nailed it from a quality point of view. And it's probably just going to get better. And I've not thought that about almost any other AI generated stuff that I've seen. So I just want to say that like this looks kind of incredible. And many of the photos of this I find to look like amazing. Like I was like, I want my own version of those. Like this is the first really compelling version of it for me that I've seen. So, as a World of Warcraft enjoyer, you may have no idea what this is. Echo is a guild, like Liquid, who competes in the Race to World First for World of Warcraft. And this is Gingy standing up here. And Echo used this, I imagined to make this little image here. And like I said, before we started addressing the thoughts and the drama around it, I was like, that's a damn good image. That's so cool, because I know these people, as like online gamers. I was like, that's a cool picture of them. The chair looks good. The mics look good. I know the guy in the back looks a little crazy, but that's kind of fine. The LED looks good. The text looks good. This had no touch up. Is that what happened? Like, the perspective on the wall, they changed it to make it better. They shot it like there's things that are like, it just did this on its own. Like, so the camera angle's coming in, and the desk is, kind of going into depth. And then in the real photo, you're against a flat wall. But in the Miyazaki verse, they put it into the corner, which is more compelling. It's two leading lines leading into the frame. Compositionally, the left one is better. The lighting is smoothed out. I mean, it's a great looking image. Does he have the right number of fingers? I don't know. But in the face, the central point of the photo is good, and the background people are pretty good. I'm not like saying like it's the best, but like if this was like a one-click operation, I was like, that is an extremely compelling image on the left. So I am just really impressed with it from a lot of ways. However, not everybody's happy about this. This is called a ratio. Not quite, but this is called being ratioed on Twitter here. Another one from FaZe Clan. I don't know if this is an image or not, but overwhelmingly from the art community, because I come from, I think, the art community as an artist and musician. I'm not an actor or anything. I guess I kind of am an actor for YouTube or something, but like coming from like the traditional arts blue collar side of like I pick up camera with hands and carry it around and film things and play music with my hands. That's like where I come from. Anyone in that space, for the most part, is not happy with this at all. You know, what if we just paid artists 125,000 likes? You can see how many hearts are down there. And so that is certainly the take, is like, anyone who like is an illustrator who would have gotten commissioned to do this work is like looking at this and is not happy. And there's lots of different thoughts on it. But what I'm going to play devil's advocate on like the people who do use this, because I 100% understand the artist's point of view, because that's mostly where I come from. But I look at this image, I'm assuming that's just like a random iPhone picture. That is a banger illustration that they got from ChatGPT. If all they did was dragged it in, it was like, make this in Studio Ghibli style picture. And for like, I don't know, like how much, $1 of OpenAI coin, they got this. That's incredible. That's going to do numbers on their social media, because like people all know who those people are. I don't know who the FaZe Clan like that, but everyone's going to be like, oh, that's him. It's like, and they got that for like $1 or something. That is incredible. Incredibly unfortunate for like illustrators who would have to do better than this. But like artists want, okay, there's a lot, because I've dealt with this stuff a bunch, but like these people, it's not even the money in a lot of cases, it's the turnaround time. And the less people involved, less drama, less 1099s, less W-9s going out, just less work for that company. If you can just, you know, get a bill from OpenAI and they're going to get something like this, they're going to do that. And those results are pretty good. They're not as good as like the highest end illustrator, but could they have afforded them? Would that illustrator have done this for them? They're like, hey, would you like illustrate our goofy asses like standing in front of the webcam? I don't know. They're going to use this. There's just no question. And it's hit that bar of like acceptability where I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. I know it's a little crazy back here, but is FaZe Clan hiring like tons of illustrators? Maybe they are. Maybe that's why this got so many views. But I don't know. They're 100% going to keep doing this for those reasons. So with a real artist, you wouldn't have to ignore them, ignore the positions of the pieces. So let me just say this part. Again, I don't know how they do this. Maybe because it's just trained from such good artists. Background out of focus. Lighting is backlit. Oh, with a little bit of a front light, actually. Anyway, the lighting is banger. The clothing is banger. The patterns is pretty banger. Out of focus. The background character is less than the outline quality. And the face, the central part of this, he's thinking. I think he has the right number of fingers. It's a good illustration. Maybe don't get mad at me if it's not an illustration. Whatever it is, it's a compelling image. And I consider myself like someone who likes drawing and painting. I would love to paint this virtually, digitally. And light it in real life and light it in Unreal Engine. Like and make a metahum out of this. I'll make these clothes in Marvelous Designer, you know? And people are nitpicking the like chess pieces and it got 200,000 likes. I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, the you know, these pieces are like a little funny or whatever, but like that's not an argument to me anymore. I was like, this is a compelling image. I was like, it's like a book cover or something like that. I know it's trained on Studio Ghibli's stuff. I'm just saying the image, just like look at it. I was like, that's good. That is a good looking image. And I think picking apart the little technicalities, clearly this is just getting better and better. I'm not trying to be like full pro AI or whatever on this. I'm just objectively looking at this. I'm like, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good image. And like being like, oh, the chess pieces are kind of funny. It's like, so hop in Photoshop or Canva and fix it later. But like, this just got you like 99% of the results for, again, I don't know how is this a real photo? This might be like a famous chess player or something like that. I do watch chess YouTube actually, but anyway, it is my vote that this is an incredible image. And then picking apart the chess pieces, technicalities, like it's like whatever. And most people wouldn't care. So the takes are certainly very negative. from at least what I see. I'm sure there's positive ones as well because like a lot of people are using it. But one of the most interesting things about generative AI stuff is the extent to which it's revealed how many people have a deep, deep contempt, not just for artists, but for art itself. And art just became accessible as a common line that people put with this. Probably because it makes everybody mad and they get lots of engagement off of it. So that image converted to those, can I call them illustrations? I'm just going to call them illustrations. Taking a photo that like someone took a horrible photo with their phone and it came back with these illustrations is amazing. Those are incredible. And it's not just the end result, it's the time. Does this take like 1 minute or something and cost like $1? The results are insane. But ever since the AI stuff has come out, I do see this take that like people hate artists and hate art, and they're like, just learn how to draw. I don't understand or subscribe to any of those takes. I don't think that like the college students, or maybe those are famous people, I don't know, whoever's like making these photos of like their kids and their family being like, look at this funny photo, that's cool, dad, like awesome, whatever, and moves on. I don't think these people hate art or hate artists. But I think that there's definitely some like internet trolls out there just farming likes and hate comments about it, being like, like, I've never been able to be an artist, so like screw them. It's like, I've never interacted with those people. I guess they do exist because I do see this is so prevalent, this stuff, that take on there. But I've never really, I guess sort of as an artist myself, I've never met anybody real life that's like screw artists. So I don't fully understand that take, but it's certainly out there. It's a big discussion that like, oh, this has been showing how much people hate art and artists. I'm not sure. I just haven't really, other than the internet, I haven't really seen that, or I don't really understand it either, but it's certainly one of the main discussions happening around this. And again, I'm a bit of a gamer nerd here. We have ESL. They took these like, probably famous images from people winning the Counter-Strike ESL and turned them into the Studio Ghiblis. And I'm just going to say it, these Studio Ghiblis of these people are banger. These are all probably esports celebrities. They post those on their Instagram. That's like 100K likes immediately. And that's money. And it's fast. And they're making money from it. And that's not, if that's possible, there's no world they're not going to do it. There's no putting this toothpaste back. Although, well, we'll see. I'll show at the end. But anyway, like once this is possible, there's no world that this ends. Because this is just like going to make them money quickly. It's like, boom, all the hype. Here's the hype photo. Here's an illustration of it. That person posted on their personal whatever social media, and boom, that is lightning in a bottle. No question. But the amount of artists doing esports art all the time for y'all to do this, LMAO, is disgusting. And again, for an artist who was or is employed by any company that would then use this instead of hiring them to illustrate them, that is an L. That is super sad. From the art illustration community, I can certainly see the outrage and the frustration about that. And this isn't even talking about the fact that this is all trained, possibly illegally. I don't know if there's a law against it. I think the legal system's catching up. But I feel like we could say a gray area at the minimum, because I don't know if it's like straight illegal yet. Are they going to jail for this yet? Or at all? Is OpenAI going to get sued by Studio Ghibli? Is Nintendo getting involved? Notoriously litigious about their IP. Yet to be seen. I don't know if it's illegal. Nobody knows if it's illegal. That's why they're just doing it. We're gonna find out. But I have a feeling it's so pervasive that it's like we're gonna sue all these people. We have real problems, bigger problems than this probably happening in the real world. We won't jump into real world news. They're busy. I don't know if people are gonna have, if there's like enough outrage to make this into like actual like huge lawsuits against such big tech companies. You're gonna lose, most likely. But again, from the illustrator's point of view, I get it. That is a loss of work, 100%. From the voice actor point of view, that's a loss of work. Feels bad. From ESL, from any of these influencers using these as tools this quickly to make engaging content that will ultimately make them money, they're going to do it. And those are pretty compelling images, especially if you like recognize who these people are. Okay, let's read some like ridiculously long threads on this stuff, but you know, that's what we kind of signed up for here, isn't it? There's only so much you can get done in these like quippy 140 character tweets, but here's some really longer ones. I'm going to like lose my voice for this, but anyway. Some thoughts on AI and the entire Studio Ghibli trend. Tier. I don't know who this person is. I don't know their context, but anyway. At first glance, you suddenly see masses celebrating Studio Ghibli style. Aw, cute, for sure. Most of them haven't even seen any of their movies, that's correct. They don't need to, it's just a trend now. They are happy they have some content for the day. My kids also haven't watched My Friend Totoro and what's the whisked away one, I forget. But they have read some of the comics of it, and they recognize it, but they haven't seen it. They haven't watched those movies. Maybe they're not like accessible on Netflix or like whatever platforms they have, like Disney Plus or something. But anyway, they're like familiar with some of the books. We've had like comics of them, but they haven't watched them. And they don't have, actually maybe my son has ChatGPT, but anyway, they don't have access to this at the moment. But anyway, I think that it is correct for sure. In just 24 hours, AI has made looking at Studio Ghibli style annoying. Yeah, some people say that. Let that sink in. The timeless craft of a legacy studio is annoying because of overconsumption in 24 hours. I still think a good Studio Ghibli is pretty cool, and I've seen a lot of them. I just think they look really good considering what they are. And I don't think anything can make the Studio Ghibli look annoying to me. You know how many games look like Studio Ghibli and say they look like Studio Ghibli? They're all like, you know, crafting chill games, and I'm like, I still think those are compelling. I'm going to play Solarpunk. I think that those games look great. So I don't know. If you're like an art hater, do you hate is Studio Ghibli illustration style annoying? I don't think so, but I get the take. I get the take that like maybe for the average person they're like, oh, that trend that's so old, like what do we care? I kind of like Studio Ghibli's art style no matter what, but I can get that, like, yeah, I get what they're saying. They're like, this is like some time honored, incredibly handcrafted look, and now it's like cheap, it's commodified, and people even hate it now. It's oversaturated. I get it, but it already was oversaturated in games. How many games look like this? But anyway, there's no consent from Studio Ghibli. We don't know that. Might be. While ChatGPT shows off this feature, if you are an artist with a recognized style, just type your name and say make it their style. You will be shocked how close it's getting. Again, no artist is compensated or credited. That's likely true. I don't know for sure, but we'll kind of see at the end of this segment how that probably is true. And yeah, the compensation part is up to the legal, right? So if you're big enough of an artist that people are like Googling, you're ChatGPTing your style, you know, that's a legal battle in a studio level thing that I have no idea about the legal. I can't really comment on it. It does feel wrong, but these are corporations fighting against corporations. Again, I don't have too much stake in that, but I can look at, so from Studio Ghibli's point of view, it's like they probably have money and I don't know, like they're going to fight this out. But from the small guy, the indie illustrator or just like small studio illustrators, losing work to this does feel bad because it is trained on possibly your work, but it's trained on everybody else's work. So I get that. But jumping in there being like, Miyazaki wouldn't want this and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's, I guess he is like considered like a solo, like visionary and whatnot. But like, these are corporation. And this is like Disney and Pixar fighting it out and whatnot. It's like, so like, I don't think about that too much, in my opinion. The rest of this I read, I guess I'll just read through it. But anyway, I chose this one specifically, but I know AI is not going anywhere, and sooner or later it will add some part of it into our process, but we need these companies to be held accountable. Not going to happen. We need tools that can help in crediting artists. That's not going to happen. Copyright laws, not going to happen probably. And yeah, so I think the only thing from that I take away is like, this isn't going anywhere. This is making people too much money for not very much. It doesn't cost very much, and it removes the human element, which working and hiring humans is complicated, especially if they're in different countries. It is complicated. It takes time. Humans are flaky sometimes. Just hire all robots. Look, you saw that camera operator. It's a robot. That robot doesn't need a 1099. Doesn't need anything. Sure, it's hard to be accountable while the cash grab mode, but it's needed in this hour. I'm kind of like just done with this, but those are cute sentiments. This is for the lawyers to handle. What are we gonna do as artists? What does that mean for us, right? What Studio Ghibli's gonna do in hell? You're gonna hold? Am I gonna hold OpenAI accountable for this? Like this? Okay, cool. But someone's gonna do that. That's certainly not me. What am I gonna do about this? Backlash against AI generated Ghibli art. The reaction here boils down to one simple fear: irrelevance. What took artists years of dedication, practice, and struggle can now be replicated effortlessly by AI for nothing. Resentment for this loss of exclusivity is understandable but futile. I agree with this. I think exclusivity isn't the word I would use, but I get what they mean, that like only an artist can do that, right? Only someone who's trained at it. But futile. I also agree. I look at something like this and I'm like, there's no world we go back. The legal will get sorted out. The biggest corporation will win and will charge you a sub for it, and you're going to do it. If you're a company who makes content, which every company makes content now. Irrelevance and exclusivity, I don't buy. I'm not so much into that. Irrelevance, I suppose, is more like I'm not getting hired as an illustrator. I suppose that's right. Exclusivity, because like only they. I guess that makes sense. So what I wanted to put this in context of, and this is just the cycle of the world and technology, art and technology, is that when I got into cinematography and I was shooting music videos for artists, if you could make an image look like what an iPhone does now, back then, you could get hired, and that was a special thing. So depth of field, however you could get 35 millimeter looking depth of field, you understood lighting, you could get decent like exposure and color and get in Final Cut or whatever, and deliver that video, just having clean, shallow depth of field footage. I had years of work at a pretty high level at where I was at, and I climbed the ladder pretty well, just doing like what now your phone could do and anyone could do, right? So literally, this does a better job than I used to do and get paid thousands of dollars a day. I mean, I was lighting, and there's more than that. You know, there's running a crew and stuff like that, but like the image quality that I delivered back then would be disgraceful now. You couldn't work in this town with that quality. And now a phone can do it. And you should use a phone in a lot of cases, in my opinion, for a lot of that type of content that I was shooting. I was shooting content and commercials and whatnot. So this has happened in my lifetime. Now I work in Unreal Engine. So for the illustrators, for the voice artists, for musicians, to be honest, I'm not going to talk about too much about AI music, but my daughter made me an AI song about her brother. It was pretty banger. It was pretty good. And I'm a drummer who is in a band, and I love real music, okay? But it was pretty good. It was the kind of song I heard. She played it for me. She wrote the lyrics for it, and the AI sang it and made a song. I was like, if you had written this and performed it, I was like, you're like the next like Avril Lavigne in here, you know? But the AI wrote it, so the AI is the next Avril Lavigne. And I can just address, I was like, that's a pretty good song. Like, not like I'm going to rock out to it, but I was like, it has a structure, has a chord progression. You know, the key changes pretty well into the chorus and back down, and the AI singer wasn't too bad. Anyway, technology supplants old skills for artists. Always has, always will. And I've lived it through multiple cycles in my career as like an artist, and, artists trying to make money. So it's happened to me. It's happening to everyone now, and it keeps happening over and over again. Today it's drawing and graphic design. Tomorrow it's coding, playing and writing music, writing, cooking. I'm not there yet with cooking, but maybe, yeah. I guess a lot of things are automated. Your cars are made by robots. Or robots are a big part of it anyway. Every single human skill that humans have learned will become nothing more than a prompt away. I do think that is correct. It's headed that way. People want things fast. Don't you want things fast and easier and cheaper? And before we fool ourselves, taste, style, and even vibes aren't safe either. Yeah, I believe this as well. They're just patterns in context, and AI is best precisely at pattern recognition. Eventually, even aesthetic judgment and intuitive creativity will be automated away. And unfortunately, I do believe this. as well. Not that there's no value in someone who has a vision. Visionaries have always been valuable and strong and made great work. You're like Ridley Scott. You are, Steven Spielberg. You're, the guy directing Dune. I forget his name right now. These people have like a vision, and it's just they just have to get this vision out there, right? That has always been strong. That's Studio Ghibli. That is Miyazaki, right? That is these like visionary creators. They're still gonna kill it. They might even use these tools to make their vision happen faster, right? But for a lot of the content creators or filmmakers or game developers or whatever, and musicians who are like kind of not that level, because there's like one per generation, we're kind of like, oh, we kind of follow the trends and we're going to make what works and we're just trying to make money and do something that we like and have fun. It's not everything we work on is winning an Oscar. Okay, it's not going to be. It's not realistic to think that you're going to either, unless again you are those people. But you're not watching YouTube probably. I do think that this is correct. And what I always complain about, it started off as a joke, is that I use YouTube Music to listen to music in the car. And I'm like, hey, throw on like Polyphia, who I like Polyphia, or throw on like this new whatever song, like Drake song or whatever, Kendrick song. And I'm like, and now it's up to you, algorithm, to pick the next song for me. And YouTube Music's algorithm, I'm going to get like deplatformed for saying this on YouTube, is kind of bad. I don't like how they do it at all. And they kind of like alternate. They're like, oh, here's another artist that's similar, and then here's the artist you wanted. And here's something from the top 10, and here's the artist you wanted. Now let's just stay on the top 10 forever, because the algorithm, right? Like, this is what everybody likes. You must like it. It's a horrible algorithm. It's really bad. And I'm always angry at it. I'm like, why aren't you picking good music for me? What the heck, man? What the heck, robot? You should know what I like. And I'm angry at it. And I come from the Napster LimeWire days. And before that, taking CDs and taking a cassette and recording the songs I liked from the CD to the cassette, switching the CD, recording it to the cassette, switching the CD. I make my own mixtape. And then original iPod, I'd make my own iPod list, or I have my big book of like, CDs, and I would pick the mixes that I like because I have taste. I'm so unique, I come from that, and it's like, my taste in music is like, was that part of my personality? But now I'm just wanting the algorithm to do it better for me. And who has a really good algorithm is Spotify. So hashtag the sponsor of this video, Spotify. Spotify has a really great algorithm, and they'll pick artists I've never even heard of when I'm just on like a certain vibe. And I'm like, that's good. I've never heard of that before. And you picked a good song. And that's not me finding that song. That is the algorithm. That's data. That's just machine learning. They're like, we know who you are. You want this music. And I'm like, and Spotify's making good mixes, like just off my pure data. I am very algorithm. I'm like, show me the good next thing. And I'm trained like that now on TikTok, on YouTube. I'm like, how come there's no good content right now? That's your fault. I'm not going to look it up. That's up to you. I feel like if I, the millennial who come from traditional art and music, think this way already, and I feel like I'm pretty self-aware that I expect the algorithms to give me the good content, that certainly the next generation won't even be self-aware of it. That's just expected. That's just what this is. So sort of lost maybe where this is going. But a lot of this, I look at this and I look at how I behave now regarding art, music, movies, and that sort of thing. I'm like, I don't sense any lies here at all. I'm not saying I'm happy about this and I'm, pushing it or whatever, but I think this is realistic. I think it is. And the Studio Ghibli thing kind of brings it to a head. Sad to see the death of the artistic profession, which before this point was a highly viable career that famously paid a lot of money. And I said this in my last video as well, or one of the videos, is that like, you remember the starving artist? That's real. That is real from whatever reason. Historically, artists do not make a lot of money. One, because a lot of people want to do it. There's a lot of us who are willing to do it. And there's only a couple studios that actually make enough money to hire them, right? And so this is why unions exist, which I was going to talk about unions because the unions were at IATSE was at GDC, but like maybe that's like, I don't know, I just didn't get into it on this one. But it's why unions exist for filmmakers, for the cinematographers, the grips, because like, there's a lot of us. So the studios will do, price fixing and they'll bring it down. They're going to make it so that like we're fighting against each other. And so all the artists get together in a union and they're like, no, you're not, or else none of us are working. You have to meet our like minimum requirements so we don't die doing this stuff, right? And so this is the age-old struggle. And so in the past, it was a fight for how much time we work on set or how much time we get off or like, guaranteed overtime pay and things to dissuade the studios from overworking the artists till they die, burn out, and then they hire new ones. That was maybe the old fight. And the new fight is certainly against this automation through AI. But how are we going to win that? How is that possible to win against this? This is the new struggle, but it's always been a struggle. You can't have gotten into music. I wanted to be a jazz drummer, and I got kind of slapped in the face with the reality of that. I was like, hey, playing jazz music is fun. But then I'm, the career of it is like, you better love this because that's a tough career. So anyway, this is something to keep in mind if you're endeavoring into the arts or game development, etc. However, it looks like the Ghibli era is over. I think they probably turned off the fire hose for now. I mean, if they don't do it, someone else is going to do it. That seems to be the current, take on it. They'll figure out the legal, just like Napster and like the explosion of music. Guess what? Now, the music labels get paid through YouTube. They get paid through streaming. They get paid through TikTok, right? They get their cut of it. So maybe that other take was right that like, yeah, the studios are going to figure out. Let the studios figure it out. I don't know about the indie artists. You're screwed. We're screwed. I'm screwed. But eventually, every time someone makes a Studio Ghibli is making like 0.001. They get their check for a couple $1 million every month for these Studio Ghibli ones, and they want people to make these Studio Ghibli ones because they're going to make their money from it. It's just like what happened in music. It's going to happen here. They turned it off for this 1 week because they're like, let's calm it down a little bit. You're crashing our servers because everybody wants this. There's money here. There's want. There's production. There's content being created that is pretty good looking in my opinion. Studios are going to figure it out. They're going to get paid and everyone's going to keep doing this. And it's not a discussion anymore. But like, yeah, at like the peak of Napster coming out, it was like, what's going to happen? Not to say all those things were good, but making music accessible that quickly is undeniable that people want it. People will pay for it. This is the same thing. People want this. People are going to pay for this type of service. It's probably going to come just from like Apple or something like that for most people, I imagine, on platform. But they turned it off, and this certainly was the story of the week. Okay, so let's take it down a little bit. Ranted a lot and just read a lot of tweets. We like this kind of content. I don't know. We're taking it down, and we're going to read more tweets because that's what we do. And we'll talk a little bit about what are we doing moving on? How should we think about this as simple primates? I don't know what's going on here. I just read this. But I've tried to put together some stuff here to help kind of forget that this is all happening. You know what? I get to draw my pictures. I get to make my indie games, and I get to make a living at it. And, everything's going to be fine. Just bury our heads in the sand. But let's try to put some sort of closing on this. So, when elite universities uploaded all of their courses online for the public consumption, we collectively realized that the limiting reagent for global intelligence is not access to information, it's motivation. It's time, really. It's time. But so like MIT opened up the gates and they're like, here's all of our courses. Here's recordings of them. You can now get the things that MIT students get for free. It doesn't cost you anything. You have to come to Boston. And like, is the programming community generally overall better? I actually think they are, but I think it's more YouTube than it is necessarily MIT specifically releasing it. And what I would counter to this is that like, if you're struggling to make rent, you don't have time to spend 4 years watching this stuff, right? It takes time, it takes money. So the fact that certain families can afford to send their kids to school for 4 years and make no money, and that they can afford to do that, that is still a big part of it. But this is still a point that I get. And so this to me resonates with something that I usually think and say is that when this new technology disruption comes, I lived through the film to digital and the like slow rendering to real-time rendering, right? These are like a similar, maybe not as big of changes, but similar changes within my creative career where I made money in those old ways. And I was like, what's this new way look like? And I've lived through those transitions multiple times, and we're going through this one now. Every single time that's happened to me, I think and see, and I have this backed up from my experiences, is that the people that were already good at it, the people that were already making a business, already were making money, already knew how to take, I do this, I charge them for it, I make money. Those people that are good at that will be good at the new way. There will be some stand-up people that were like, oh, I couldn't do this before, but now I can. And then they enter the market. And I can name names in the cinematography space, and I can name names in the real-time space of those newcomers who probably couldn't have done this if it wasn't for that. That's great. I'm kind of one of them in multiple cases, actually. If it was only film, I probably wouldn't have a cinematography career because DSLRs got me in. We got that depth of field, baby. We got that low light sensitivity. Boom, Matt Workman's in. That was my career for a while. Traditional VFX that takes like years to render hair. No, Unreal Engine makes it real time. Matt Workman's in. Now Matt Workman can do it. I guess I am that person for both of those things. Those two pivots, I was there early. I was like, oh, okay, I know how to spin this a little bit. And I was in. I don't see that for AI as much. I'm old now. I'm the establishment. But on top of new people getting in, like me, slipping in there, the companies that were already doing this, there's some dinosaurs that phase out for sure. But the hustlers and the movers, they're like, new tool? Great, let's go. You know? That's not slowing them down. They're going to use it if they like it, and they're not going to use it if they don't like it. And again, the visionaries and the people that are already doing it are going to do it. And just because you democratize everything, you give all the information, you give the tools for free. It's like you can make Pixar movies with your iPhone for free. Still, Pixar is going to make better movies. There's going to be the new digital circuses. There's going to be some new people coming in. But they're probably coming in anyway. Same with music. Just because like everyone can record music, the people that are gonna do it are gonna do it. That's how I see it. I don't know if that's cope, but there's new people. But the people that were gonna make this happen or already know how to make it happen, these new tools, they don't mean anything. It's just a new piano, new synthesizer. Great, I'm making this song. You know, it doesn't really matter. If you're trying to figure out who to hang out with, who to work with, look who's working now. They're probably going to keep doing it. And anytime these big shifts happen, I'm like, the people that make things happen. And so if there's any image to kind of encapsulate, I feel like this last week and maybe forever, is just like this photo of someone holding a phone. Was this AI generated? Was this from ChatGPT? I'm sorry, artist. I don't know who the original artist is. I'm sorry. Is this a GIF? Oh, there it is. That's banger. That is it. Now, I want the particles to go the other way. That the particles of you are the phone is taking your face and your soul and destroying it into little data particles, and it's feeding it into the algorithm. I think it should go the other way, but I get that it's like content going into your broken face, but I really think this should be reversed the other way. But that's my take on it. And I'm sorry who the original artist is. Hopefully it's you. I hope. I'm sorry. It's the internet. We don't credit artists no more. We're just feeding that to ChatGPT. That's how this works. Imposter syndrome. I like this one. I don't believe anyway. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. Must be imposter syndrome. Nope, it's incompetence. And they're just saying definitely imposter syndrome. And I like this because they're just... Actually, I think maybe their spirit's a little broken because their eyebrows change a little bit. But unreasonable enthusiasm and an unreasonable belief in yourself is how you get through times like this. So I don't know if you want to call it imposter syndrome, but like I feel like this is like, I'm going to keep doing the work I like. And they're like, it's kind of like the world's like, AI is the future. And you're like, I'm just going to keep doing the work that I like. Anyway, that's what I kind of felt from this one. I'm well respected in the bug community. Not programming, but the bug community. But unfortunately, bugs don't live very long. So in a month or two, I'll have to earn the bug community's respect again. This reminds me of UEFN, where there comes new trends in the UEFN world. They come and they're like only up. Red versus blue is like forever. But there's these trends that happen over there, and that you have to capitalize on that moment. In that week, you have to make a game that week in that trend and put it out, or a map, or else you're not going to make any money. And like you could have the best only up map in Fortnite or whatever, and it's like the next trend. It's like, which is quick in a game development cycle world. It's like 2 weeks later. It's like, who plays only ups? That's dead. Who are you? We don't care about that. And at a certain point, this is the rat race, right? This is at a certain point, they don't say it here, but at a certain point, you're just like, I don't care anymore. I'm going to make the thing that I want to make. And so we're all in these different bug communities, but they're so short and the cycles are shorter and shorter. Look at the trends coming from all these different sources. Things are moving so fast. Maybe I'm just getting so old, but things are moving so fast. I thought this was I would print this one maybe. I don't know. This one hit for me. So again, I think I'm just getting old and slowing down, but I liked this. The attitude we desperately need in tech: move slow and fix things. That's not what investors want. That's not how capitalism works. That's not how a lot of things I do work, but it would be nice. Move slow and fix things. You wish. To start to leave it on a slightly more positive note here, for the programmers, for the developers, whatever, virtual product, whatever you're doing, a short coding session is better than no coding session. Get off the internet. Stop reading these. Stop watching this video. I mean, don't, but work towards what you're working towards a little bit every day. I actually haven't opened up Unreal Engine this week because I've been on set and doing other things. So I need to do this. But, work a little bit towards what you're doing every day. Don't watch the news. Don't listen to the stuff from here. But keep working towards what you're doing one step at a time. It's the only way. What else can you do? And this calmed it down for me a little bit. I'm going to buy one of these. I like this. A visual representation of the healing power of time. Oh, no. Okay, so we're getting into it now. Let me explain something that's extremely obvious visually, but anyway, they dig a big hole of it. There's AI coming and stealing all your money. And it's certainly a big loss over time. But, the rotation of this clock wheel here is your work. And you just keep pushing through until that hole is gone. And you're like, what hole? And for me, this was like, oh, we don't shoot film and we're not doing that workflow. Like all that stuff you learned is like useless. And you're just filling it in. We're digital, now we're filming digital. And it's like, big scoop comes out. Hey, you used to render this way. Now we're doing it like this. It's real time. You have to optimize for runtime and things like that. And, just fills it back in. You just keep working and it's going to be fine. The world's not going to absolutely crumble. You might have to change your job a little bit for sure. There's that next scoop. It's AI. It's coming for your money. It's coming for your life. All that work you did, gone. But, the parts that are relevant, fill in the hole again, and then you just keep moving on. So hopefully that makes it feel a little bit better. It makes me feel a little bit better. I don't know. But yeah, I think this is a nice visual to kind of watch the cycle of anything, really, just being smoothed out by time and work. You got to keep spinning the dial. If you stop spinning the dial because you're depressed and you're watching too many videos online, then yeah, that hole stays there forever. Okay, so that wraps it up for this week at Unreal. I don't know if we should probably change the name because Unreal Engine's kind of like the beginning and then it just gets into whatever technology and art a bit. But anyway, the anchor of it is certainly the context of Unreal Engine. Again, so for the Studio Ghibli ChatGPT, just to kind of wrap up for me, it's the first time the quality bar has reached the middle and sometimes a little bit above. And once it becomes acceptable to the mainstream audience, most people don't care that it's AI generated. Most people can't tell. And as it gets better, people might prefer it. People don't care. Consumers don't care. Images are there for commercial purposes, for the ones that are commercial, I'm not talking art, high art or whatever, like any art, for commercial image making, which I come from a lot, commercial game making, commercial film making, commercial illustration, commercial music. We got to make money to keep doing our art. If there's a cheaper way to do it faster that doesn't require humans, artists will do that. Companies will do that. So how do you exist in that ecosystem? We got to keep spinning the sand dial. I don't know yet. But I want to end with this one story about this exact thing in this space. This is happening so quickly. I'm not going to use any names. It's kind of obvious, maybe, but I'm just going to talk about it. But so Unreal Engine, someone makes this like really great music video for a big artist, and it's using all the new technology. And it was widely acclaimed and watched and popular, and by all accounts, successful. But does the artist, at that point, want to keep working with that studio and keep hiring them? They don't. What they want to do is to be able to do it themselves. They want to control it. They don't want to have to hire those other humans, those other studios to do it. And this has been the case for every wave of technology that I've been part of. I filmed music videos for some of the biggest artists in the world, and sometimes it would be for the label. Through the label, millions of dollars on set, really expensive stuff, but the artist doesn't have that much control of it. They're kind of just there. And it's kind of just really just marketing for the album. They don't get paid to be there necessarily, right? And they don't have as much creative control. So these huge music videos being done by like the record label and the studio and the production company, right? It's like this big advertising thing. But as soon as DSLRs hit, those artists really capitalize on the fact that like, I can film my own music videos with a much smaller crew. And I was that crew. You can find videos of me on MTV and all sorts of places of me with a DSLR filming for these big artists. We would just go film their like kind of like pocket videos themselves. And so compared to being on 35 millimeter film with a record label and like all this production in 18Ks and like you can't, it takes forever. We were just had SLRs and we were just out there running and gunning it. And those music videos did okay. They're kind of like the World Star hip hop videos back then, if you know what that is, man. But they always want that. They want that control. They want to do it themselves. They produce their music themselves a lot of the times now, right? They're not necessarily at these big studios out, they cost money that are on someone else's time. They have the studios in their house. And so artists, I'm specifically speaking about musicians, always want to bring this technology back home. And it happened with Unreal Engine. I saw it, and I talked to them about it. They're like huge technology music video. They're like, we want to do that ourselves. They don't want the other people to do it. They want to do it themselves. So I've seen this over and over with film, with virtual, with AI, with music production. The artists, the companies, they want to do it themselves. They don't want to have to rely on other people. Dealing with people is expensive, it's complicated, and it's slower. And they want to do it faster. They want to do it cheaper. Maybe the quality is the hit, but the quality bar from the Studio Ghibli stuff is like not that bad. It's not that bad. It's acceptable. DSLRs, people are like, oh, who films a digital? And then like, look how we film now. So I've seen this over and over again. I should recognize the cycle. It doesn't stop the visceral, like, oh my God, like what the heck? What's going on? How do we stop this? You can't stop it. This is just how I think it's always been. And this is the latest one. So that's my context on all of this. I've seen this before. I've seen it again. And I'm seeing it today. And I'll see it tomorrow. And I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.